All right, this is Fuzz from RIP, and you are tuned to the Doom Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doom Podcast, the podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. My name is Chris. I am your host. Today, we're going to talk about a brand new release called Amalgam. And if you're looking for some progressive, groovy doom, this is it. Let's get into it. This is the band Psyclops. Long has the Cyclops lain in slumber beneath the consciousness of the masses, feeding on your most crucial synapses and studying the human condition. Now, in this time of progress, the embodiment has presented itself to the public. It is unclear the intentions of this agent of change, but one thing is certain. Cyclops is a reflection of everything it sees and everything that sees it. And I am grateful enough to have all of the members from the band Cyclops, based out of Oregon. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Great.
Doing good.
Good, thank you.
I'm so glad you read that.
Yeah. Fucking awesome.
You know what? I love that kind of stuff, man. I love hearing when a band takes the time to give you this mini story or you know, even if it's a paragraph, whatever, of what is this? What are we talking about? And we're going to get into this because Cyclops has a brand new release. But first, I'd like to interview all of you. I would like you to go around first and just introduce yourselves. Please go right ahead.
Yeah. Cool. Well, my name's Alex. I'm the drummer.
All right.
I'm Geared. Guitars.
I'm Brandon, the bass player.
And I'm Chris. I do the vocals and a little bit of guitar.
Ah, yes. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Now, you're out of Portland, Oregon, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, I've seen, I've gone on social media. I do a little lurking here and there. And I saw a couple of spaces that you have played, whether it's Kenton Club, the High Water Mark, Dante's, Hawthorne Theater. What are some of your favorite places to play?
Rest in peace, Ash Street. Got to start there.
Rip. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
It was like the best like bar venue around town. Portland's kind of like, it's this way. A lot of places in my experience that have like a big music scene is that there's sort of a division between like all ages shows and 21 plus.
Right.
And like almost 100% of the time it's gonna be more fun to play the bar because they're gonna let you like drink on stage and stuff like that. But
Absolutely.
It's really nice to play places like Hawthorne that have like, like actual stage and
The fucking sound,
Yeah.
And I feel like in our time with the bands, we've seen quite a few close, right?
Yeah.
Ash Street, man, that was...
Yeah, and then Analog Theater went down too.
Yeah, while I was working there, actually.
Yeah.
Tonic Lounge is gone now.
That's right. Yeah.
True.
So
Those are all like
venues
places
we
for
played at.
metal, especially, so...
Do you think anybody's going to be rising up soon? Because like in where I am at, there was a place around the corner, not too far from me, called Joe's Grotto. That just closed. The Rogue Bar closed about a half a year, almost maybe a year ago now. And those were some pretty big spots for catching shows. Do you see anything on the rise?
Not in plain sight.
High
But
Watermark
I feel that a lot of underground stuff's going to grow and boil. And then in a couple years, I think a lot's going to come out. But we're all shut down right now, so there's no venues anyways.
Right.
But I foresee that there's going to be some bubbling happen when it comes back. But I think next year is going to be where a lot of the boiling over is going to come from.
Well, there is the High Water Mark, which has been pretty good to us lately, and it's been a good place to play. So
I think they have a really good model for like shows. Like they have kind of like this like divided situation where there's like this big room that's like dedicated to the music, but it's connected to a bar, and you can actually be like at the bar, getting a drink, having a conversation while hearing the band like perform live,
right?
And also like have that access to like go over there and like fucking get your face melted off.
Now, okay, so you're talking about some of these venues. What is a show that you saw that really blew your doors off?
I know this is mostly like a Doom podcast.
It don't matter, man. Music is just music right now.
Between the Buried and Me is like by far one of my like favorite live shows to go see. They are just like so clean and together, and they perform for like hours, and it's amazing to watch.
I just saw Tool in March.
What'd you think?
Oh, fucking awesome, like always.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Yep.
I've seen the Melvins at Wonder Ballroom, and they had a really good light show there for the Melvins even, and it was one of those nights to where they weren't doing experimental stuff. They did all album things, so it was fantastic.
Right.
Wonder's another great venue.
Yeah. I saw Ohm there.
Oh,
that was great. Fucking amazing. Oh my God.
Was that Ohm show with Wovenhand, the last tour?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I was there for that one. It was amazing.
It was great.
And you know what?
Mine is kind of left field, but Marc Rebillet.
I second that.
On a hell of a
show. Dude, Marc Rebillet is great, dude. Not metal, but fucking awesome.
Okay, give me a little insight about this guy.
He calls himself Loop Daddy. He basically like the best way to catch him is when he does a live stream on YouTube. He'll have people call in. They give him a topic, and he's got like this Boss 5-bank loop station and like tons of plugins on a computer, and extremely talented vocalist and pianist. And he just makes loops and makes songs. He's really, really funny, and it's really entertaining.
The best part of his live shows are that he brings everybody up at the stage on the very last song, and just
it's all
ape shit.
Really? It's all made up, all improvised.
That was what I was going to ask. Yeah,
all made up. So
wow, that is
it's just great.
It reminds me of a guy. I don't even know if he's playing anymore, and this is not even in music. Well, he plays the piano. His name was John Valby, and he was on the East Coast. I'm early from East Coast, and he used to call himself Dr. Dirty, and he would throw out, you know, like, I need topics, I need names, I need this, I need that, and then make a song up. I mean, I'm sure some of it was, like, he knew what the parameters were, but, I mean, just to come up with shit like that on the spot, there's some kind of genius there, man.
Absolutely. And, like, afterwards, I saw Geared there. And, like, we didn't know we were there. I was like, yo, Geared! And, like,
we both went to the show, and I swear we had talked about it before. We're like, oh, no, I won't be there or whatever, but, I'm running out, shouting fucking his name, and here we are at the same place.
Oh, that's awesome. So you've played with a couple of other bands in the area, and I don't, you know, like when I'm in Phoenix, Tempe, Mesa, etc. I know we have a collective of bands, you know, locals that'll play, and I'm wondering, like, who, if you're going to put together a show in Portland, I know you got some. I'm sure you got some buddies like Lagoon. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Not Stav, but is it Kvasir?
I think it's Kvasir.
Kvasir. Okay.
Yeah.
And I saw you played a little bit with Ethereal C, Hippie Death Cult, Chainbound. What's this one? Mono. Wait,
Mono Dust.
Mono Dust.
Not necessarily a metal band, but we played with Kid Coast, another good local band.
All right.
Yeah. We kind of try to play with more than just just stoner bands. We have a pretty diverse repertoire, I would say.
Well, your music also moves that way. You're playing music that can really cross several genres and leave everybody with a smile on their face, knowing that, like, oh yeah, no, they totally belong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
we have fun with that.
So if you're going to do a show and you're in Portland, who are you asking to be on the show?
I mean,
it's probably a lot of those names, to be honest. I mean, we're good buds with the Ethereal C guys and Lagoon.
It was sick playing with Hippie Death Cult. Like, they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Portland's the kind of place where, like, you know, as much as I have loved every band I like have played with in Portland. If I were to like make up a show right now, I would pick 5 new fucking Portland bands to play with. It's like there's so many that I want to still play with.
For sure. Yeah, there's some friends that we've made too. To shout out, Ash Eater, Head the Hive. Nice. Those guys, we've been talking about getting on a bill for the longest time, but just in between everything going on in the world and sort of our plans leading up to our record release show that was unfortunately canceled along with our mini tour, we couldn't really find a spot for it. So we're hoping when we get back out there, we can book with those guys. You
were just going to be doing that release show like the past weekend, right?
First part of April.
Oh. Well, you know what? Well, here maybe
here's what it is.
It is. But here's a question. So after this all gets cleared out, and I know it's not just Psyclops, but it's other bands as well. That even bands here that have missed their release show because of this issue. Are you going to still have one?
I would hope so.
Yeah, we would like to.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about it, but I think obviously we're going to have a show that's dedicated to the record. I mean, you can't not, right?
Exactly. Like it's assumed that it's going to happen. We just don't know when.
You got to celebrate the accomplishment.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. I get this feeling that when everything dies down and we can start going back to the shows and start seeing some stuff, there are going to be so many fucking bangers, man.
Oh yeah,
that are just gonna blow the nuts off of people. Because it's time. Like I can't believe I'm even saying this, but it's like it's as we're recording this, it's April 22nd. It's Wednesday night or whatever, and I haven't been to a show in 5 weeks now, and I feel like I could barely remember it anymore. And I miss the hell out of it. I miss that. Miss the crowd, the friends, and all that. And I'm sure you guys are jonesing for that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, 100%.
So with that, I look back and I saw some of the shows that you did have before all this crap went down. And let me tell you something, man. I don't know who is doing the photography for you guys, but they are spot on. Who is doing that for you?
A few people, right?
Yeah, we've had... so like probably the biggest collection of photos we had is from a guy I used to work with named Phil. He did like some of my favorite stuff as well, but we've used a variety of people that other bands have recommended too. But
right,
yeah.
Anybody that you could shout out? Maybe
shout out to Phil Wright.
And is he on social media?
Not actively enough, I don't think. I mean, we gave credits in most of the shots that we posted that were his, but
Geared, who was the photographer that the Out of Body Experience show? Who shot us for that one?
Josh Hathaway at Fear of Falling Photography. Yeah,
he was really good. I liked him a lot.
Right on. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was just curious because I'm just, especially if. A lot of times, as you can tell, if you listen to the podcast, that I'll interview bands as they come through town. But I haven't seen you guys come over here, which I would love to have you in Arizona, and we got a great spot for you. Believe me.
Hell yeah!
Oh yeah, I mean, we definitely want to go out of state more often. It's definitely on the horizon for us. It's just we're completely self-funded, so putting this record out was kind of the only thing we could do financially. So now that we have done that, we're definitely going to look at doing more out-of-state shows and gigging more.
And that brings me up to my next topic. So you guys do have a van, right?
No.
Nope.
Not yet.
All right. I thought I saw it on social media, but maybe
that was an old shot from the tour. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I was just curious. Okay, so you had did you guys give it up or?
We just rented it for a week, and it was nice because we didn't have to worry about a crappy van that was going to break down. Like that was the least of our worries. Like we got there and we drove the shit out of that goddamn thing too. So
and it was comfortable. It was so fucking comfortable. Like it was.
You could we just like we drove for like 17 hours straight and this cycled off. So
and
2 of us could sleep and 2 could be awake and get shit done.
You made a classic point, because that's one of the biggest problems of touring is the reliability of your vehicle. Now, since you had that van for such a short time, did it have a name?
Oh, no.
I don't think we named it.
But it's forever ingrained in my memory. When I see a white van like that, I'm just like, ooh, yes. Is that it? Is that it? No, there's no way to tell because like a million of those goddamn things. I'd like to refer to it as the Mormon assault vehicle or the van. Because we drove through Utah too, so it was like plenty of those jokes too.
That was weird.
Oh, the nicest Taco Bell. Like the quickest.
It was.
And the best Walmart bathroom. So
I've never had like a more uniform like cheesy potato taco that in my life.
It was very perfect.
You guys have just given me some inspiration for our next tour to do a daily rate that Taco Bell in whatever city or whatever state we're in.
Yeah.
But purely based off the quality of the Baja Blast, because this is something we talk about often.
Okay,
it's really important to us.
Break it down for me. Break down the Baja Blast.
And it's so important to us that you'll find it printed on the inside of the gatefold of our physical record. Have you ever heard of the conspiracy with the Baja Blast coming from the nipple of the Taco Bell, as we like to call it?
I have not heard this.
The syrup that comes and they mix it and they create it themselves. It's very important that you get the ratio of syrup to carbonated water correct. Otherwise, you're going to have a Taco Bell that's either too much water or too much syrup. But when you find that in between, woo, baby.
You can't have too much water, too much syrup.
Lifetime.
There is a perfect ratio. I'm not sure if it's 3-1 for syrup to water.
Oof. I have no idea, but
I mean, I'm not an artist, so I don't know what the perfect ratio is. That's up to the artists at Taco Bell.
I leave it to the experts. Well, there was this thing a long time ago, God, going way back, where people used to say, "Could I please have like a 2-cent seltzer?" Which meant I'll take 2 cents of syrup with the seltzer, and it was a little bit less than the drink. So the 3 cent would be like, full 3 parts instead of, Yeah, that's the only reason I was at. I know it's very geeky. I used to deal with that years ago.
Yeah.
It's like,
but the thing is, man, is they sell this shit in cans and bottles, and it's never going to taste the same as it does from the nipple. So we have to thank that. And so much of our writing process and our studio time, it was all fueled straight from the nipple. So shout out Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Baja Blast.
Hashtag nipple. Nipple love, maybe?
Hashtag nipple love, yes.
All right. So who doesn't love that? So I'm looking at some stuff on social, and I saw this one sticker. You've got some great merch, by the way, but I saw this one illustration. It was a sticker of the Cyclops with the mushroom. Who did that illustration?
Oh yeah, that's my buddy Shane. We actually used to work at Voodoo Donut together, and he always did like the most wild fucking decorations on the donuts. And he was like a really passionate like artist, but like never really like did a lot with art. Like I just don't think he like really cared to. And it was actually I kind of had to twist his arm to do a design for us. But I'm really glad he did. It's fucking cool.
It's really sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's his full name so we can shout him out on social?
He has a different name on Instagram. Let me pull him up really quick.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess while he's doing that, I just want to say, I mean, like that sort of speaks to our sort of philosophy with our, I guess if you want to call it branding or our output art-wise, is we love working with all sorts of different artists to kind of get their own visualization of us and our music and the lyrical themes and I guess whatever fucking weird shit comes in their brain. So you'll often see that a lot of the merchandise we produce is just radically different from the last one, maybe.
Yeah.
And I mean, talking about being all over the place. I don't know. You guys still have me up on the camera?
Yeah.
When he does.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on a second. So I'm going to show you, like, that's the stuff we're going to talk about. That's how I fucking wrote that shit right there. And because every time, no, seriously, and we might as well get into it. We'll get into this release right now because every time that I thought I was done with the song, something else brought me in and made me write down another note or another idea or another thought. So, hey, do you mind if we get into that?
Sure. Yeah. It's cool,
right,
man.
Okay, so let's see what we got here. So you had a release a while ago, like more of a self-titled, and it had 4 songs on it, and you took 2 of those songs and added it to this latest release, Amalgam. Is that proper pronunciation?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you took Fabricated and Hot Coals. We're going to go over that. Do you think you'll ever redo Shark Bite or Revolving Door?
Probably not.
Okay.
That.
Do you ever play those in a live set?
Not really anymore.
End of it.
Yeah,
I think it was a tour in Colorado. Was last time we played them.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah. I think that kind of just like the reason for that is like those songs and that demo is sort of like, what's the word? I guess this is like a new chapter for us, right? And like that was sort of like our nucleation period, I would say. And those 2 songs specifically, we had a different bassist at the time. Right. So it was something that only 3 of the 4 of us were a part of. And with the way that we have been writing and plan to write in the future, I think it just kind of makes sense to only play the stuff that all 4 of us contributed to. Perfect.
Yeah. All right. So let's kick it off. Before we even go into the track, we have to talk about this incredible artwork. And if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, I apologize. Joe Mruk?
Yeah, Joe Mruk. Yeah.
So he has this incredible artwork, and there's so many levels to it. I wasn't sure. How does the artwork coincide with the tracks, or should we talk about that as we go through the tracks?
I think we can. I can just tell you how, because it was something that I sort of spearheaded. It was he's an artist that I have like followed for a little while that I think is like just so highly underrated. His stuff is so incredible and so unique. Like he definitely has like, you know, like how singers have a voice, like he has a voice in illustration. And I like hit him up and I told him like sort of like the premise of like what this record is and, you know, why we named it Amalgam. And it's sort of like it's what he took from like listening to the lyrics and like creating something that, you know, I kind of asked him to like represent like the feel of like each of the songs, and I sent him all of the lyrics and told him like the inspiration for each song and stuff.
Right.
And this is sort of what he came up with.
It looks fantastic. It's so unique, and even like I'm not sure. Like I saw the what would you call the electrical lines with the posts on to the left of her, and then
it's actually like a broken down aqueduct. It's like these columns. It's like a pillar. It's like a bridge.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Well, all right. Let's get into it then, because I apologize. I don't know anything about art. Then this is me.
No worries.
It's all good, dude.
Okay.
Or well, no. I guess you're right. There totally are some like, you know, clotheslines in there, which, you know, gives it that like post-apocalyptic feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, power lines. There are totally some power lines in there. I didn't mean to like.
It's probably
that was my bad.
It's probably just open to interpretation.
Chris doesn't know anything about art.
I'm the one who doesn't know anything about. I just said I'm not an artist. I don't know.
Okay, so Chris, we both know shit about art. It's a done deal.
Cool, done.
All right, so let's kick it off with the title or the first track, which is Fabricated. So you go into this like dreamy state, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just hits you right in your fucking face. What can you tell me about that track?
Well, lyrically, I was inspired by Westworld. So it's kind of all about like, so spoilers. If you want to watch Westworld, haven't watched Westworld, and like don't want to be spoiled about the first season, skip ahead. But it's kind of all about like the story of, you know, this person creating, whether accidentally or on purpose, like, you know, an intelligent life form, and realizing the way that they were using it was, you know, inhumane or wrong, and kind of sacrificing themselves to like set them free, which I thought was a really fucking powerful like narrative, and it's easy to write songs about stuff like that.
Really powerful, absolutely. Does anybody else have anything to add on that track?
I mean,
no.
we started with that one core riff and really kind of like built it out, and I think we kind of like really figured out our writing style for this album with that song, you know.
Yeah, right.
So it was like one of the first ones that we wrote, like with Brandon especially, and it just kind of like made us realize we had something special. You know.
And I think a lot of the magic of that track came out in the studio. If you kind of go side by side with the demo release versus this one, you know, we experimented with a lot of stuff like orchestral. There's some kind of guttural, low tone throat singing stuff that happens towards the kind of more climactic part of the song, and
that's one of the weirdest things and coolest things about hearing this release is Chris's vocal, because it's like you're listening to it, and I have to admit, hearing track by track, I can't believe it's the same guy.
Thank you.
Like he's all over the place in a good way. In like you fed every one of the senses that I needed to get out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to hear that. I definitely shoot for a diverse vocal style. I'm really inspired by music that catches you off guard and experiments with as many different sounds as possible, and like, I don't know, just like makes you feel weird, you know?
Well, yeah, and you know, it did, because, you know, Chris, there's some parts where I'm still trying to figure out what it reminds me of, but I swear on some tracks I heard almost like a metal sounding Roger Waters.
Nice.
Oh, interesting. All right, yeah, I'm about it.
And that brings me to just a quick question.
I can totally see that. Yeah.
Has anybody brought you? Has anybody said, "Oh, you remind me of blank," and it was like just something you didn't expect?
Not off the top of my head, though. I will say the person that people tell me I sound like the most is Randy Blythe.
I've heard that. I could hear that in some of the tracks. Yes.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I get that a lot with my like heavy vocals, which, I mean, he's great. He has a really raw style. So
that is a massive compliment, because I haven't interviewed him, but I've seen enough interviews into where you can really tell that he's working on that craft. And if you've ever seen on YouTube, there's a guy, Jared Dines. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the videos? Excuse me, where he asked people to try to do their best death metal, like growl or scream.
Right. Yeah.
And you can't do it. It's like it takes talent, and as long as people
practice,
it totally does. And it's just doing it over and over. And you know you could tell when he had some ringers, and then he said, "Oh, like how long you been doing this?" "Oh, 15 years." You know, and it's like, of course you have, because it's
right.
They nailed it.
Yeah.
That comparison makes Alex happy too, right?
Yeah, dude, I'm a huge Lamb of God fan, so that's fucking great. Like,
absolutely
fucking love that.
Lastly,
I mean, I would just like to say to that point, I've been screaming for like 10 years and singing for like 5, and I'm only like just now feeling confident with like the singing. So
really?
It's like it takes a lot of practice to be able to do shit confidently.
Okay, so that brings me up to just one more quick question. We'll get back into the music. What do you do for a vocal warm-up?
that's something that I've been working on a lot, but I always start with like breathing, like on the way to practice, like whether I'm like driving or like taking like transit, I like make sure to spend like, you know, like 5 or 10 minutes just solidly like thinking about my breathing and like coming like straight from like, you know, the diaphragm and like using like those muscles and stuff.
Right.
But like before I actually like start using my vocal cords, it's also like important to actually like physically move them. It's really hard to explain my whole warm up with like out like showing you like just an audio medium isn't like sufficient for me, but
I totally get it.
Yeah, it's not a short process.
No, it depends on the person. I've seen some people that borderline put a towel in their mouth and scream into the towel. You know, and I've also seen. Now, this is funny. Like, I don't know if you know the band War Cloud or Stonecutters, but I just had Nick Burks on, and he was talking to me about, or we were talking about Nitro, this old 80s like hair band kind of thing, and the lead singer Jim Gillette, he had this really high pitched sound, and he used to do vocal lessons. So I went on YouTube and I got some of the vocal coaching. Chris, I ask you, please go look at those if you need a really good laugh, because it's so cheesy. The production is terrible. Great. And it's so fucking 80s that
I love that shit.
Oh my God.
Hell yeah.
It's just so good. All right, so let's move forward. So this next track, what do we just call it? Quotes?
Yeah, so it's just it's an untitled song, but I didn't just want to put untitled. Like I wanted to actually have no title,
right?
But also you have to have characters in order to publish some songs. So
yes, you do.
Yeah, and certain characters don't work on certain sites.
So I mean, it's an inconsistently named song. Our working title has been Groover for a long time.
I like it.
I think in my notes it's like Fuck, Marry, Kill, like that the game Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Gee golly, I've never heard of that. How does that work?
We even got our recording engineer to start calling it our working title. He's like, "Oh, I see why.
FMK, very good. Yeah. All right. So, what can you tell me about that track? Like, are you waiting for a title or like?
No, it's definitely intentional. It's kind of like, it's sort of tongue in cheek. So not to get ahead of ourselves, but it's sort of like the mirror idea in Social Psychosis, which has a title but no actual lyrics.
Right.
So yeah, this song has like a concept and, you know, lyrics and stuff. Whereas the other one is like more cathartic. It's sort of just tongue-in-cheek kind of fun stuff.
I got you. Now, we're going to get to this track. Like, I probably have the most notes on this track. An arena? They have time for entertainment? So, there's a lot going on here. Now, I want to ask a question, and maybe none of you have this answer. Who is the Warhammer fan here?
Me.
All right. Now, is Norska or that area, is that an ideal place to be?
No. So that's like that's the frozen north. That's where it's like sort of the Norse or Vikings, you know, that sort of trope in the Warhammer world. And this is inspired by a specific game that is set in like what's called the End Times, which is like there's Warhammer Fantasy and the Warhammer 40K, and the like canonically the end of Fantasy is this big like apocalypse where like all of the chaos demons come up and take power and fucking kill all the realms of men. Mm-hmm. And now, yeah, I could talk a lot about this. How much do you want me to talk about?
we got a few minutes because I just have a few questions here. So, the Rat Men, what's their role in this? Yes, sir. What's their role?
In the game Vermintide, the Chaos God Nurgle has made a deal with the Skaven, and basically, the Skaven are separated by all of these clans, and are normally like fight and kill each other, and are like terrified to like come up from the ground. But Nurgle convinces all of them to unite, and they basically come up from the ground and kill the realms of men just by like sheer numbers. There's like hundreds of thousands of them come up and just like annihilate. It's like, if you really get into it, there's a lot of different shit going on in the world. It's like, it's really expansive, but specifically I like this storyline just because it's like it's sort of like killing the proletariat, right? It's like,
well, here's the thing. Okay, so the Ratmen are coming up. Now, Nurgle, since he is the god of chaos, I guess, or a chaos god,
of pestilence and disease.
So, is he trying to kill these people? I mean, is he just doing it for his own, or her own, I don't even know, for their own, like, pleasure? Like, what is that?
I honestly don't know that much. I don't remember his like specific motivations, but basically the Chaos Gods were just, honestly, if what's funny about this is like, if you take this back to like, when it happened, like when Warhammer was just a tabletop game,
right?
This happened as like a marketing thing, right? So before End Times came out, there was like this really like big imbalance as far as teams go,
right,
where like the chaos like units were just strictly weaker, and Games Workshop had this like big tournament where people would like report their like winnings and what team they had, and that was supposed to like influence like how the story of Warhammer was supposed to go. And so obviously Chaos just got fucking stomped because they were just shitty. No one fucking played them.
Right.
And Games Workshop was like, well, that's kind of boring to have the good guys win. So it actually pissed everybody off when End Times came out and like the Chaos were like way stronger.
So this is I know it was a tabletop game. Is it now also a video game?
The song what this is written about is a game. Yeah, it's like a Left 4 Dead style like Warhammer game. There are a bunch of different games that are set in the Warhammer universe. It's there are hundreds.
So okay, so that's yourself. Are the other guys in the band like into this as well?
I played Warhammer as a kid on tabletop, but never got more than a few plays in. It's really entertaining. I recommend it. It's super fun.
I had no idea what it was until I met Chris.
Aha! So
and now you really know what it is.
And now everybody can learn, and that's a fantastic thing. And we're okay. So let's move forward to this, to social psychosis. So going on Facebook, on Bandcamp, I'm looking at some lyrics, and it just has a bunch of question marks. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so that's like this is sort of like a cathartic song that's about being pissed off and alienated and frustrated and confused and
going through a social psychosis.
Yeah, and it's like I come from like a hardcore background, kind of like hardcore, metalcore and stuff, and some of my favorite bands, like specifically the Chariot was a hardcore band, and at every one of their shows they would start with like this is your mic, like this is your stage, like we want you up here, we want you interacting, we want you like a part of this show. Right. And so that was sort of like written to that I just wanted to have something, for people to connect to in that sort of way. And when Geared wrote that, when he came to us with that like opening riff, I was like, this is kind of a hardcore song. Like we should just write a fucking hardcore song.
Hell yeah!
Like
we need a fucking thrasher like that.
It's a banger, man. It's a complete banger.
This one's all about energy. I mean, when we play it live, Chris goes out into the audience, pushes around. While we're in the studio, Chris specifically asked to use a handheld mic and move his full body as he was tracking it, as opposed to stationary right in front of something.
Right.
So
that's
all about
fantastic,
energy.
man. And I think it brings something to the track once you put it out.
It's also just great seeing the audience scream at the top of their lungs the lyrics they think they're hearing, and it's all just chaos, and it's just wonderful. It's really fun.
It's funny. It reminds me there was a show years ago where in the credits there was a song playing, and there were no real there was no lyrics at all, and I love to see that. Like I don't even know if there's actually anything that this guy is saying, but you can make it up as you go along, and that's sounds like what the crowd's doing. And as long as they vibe off it, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I wanted someone to have the power to take that mic out of my hand and scream at themselves, regardless of whether that was the first time they've seen us ever or not.
Nice. I like that, man. And that's one of the things that just brings it all together. It's like crowd interaction. You're adding something else that maybe some other band is not doing. So that fan interaction is so imperative, because people don't lose that. People don't forget that, man.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't. That's why I'm in music, is because of bands like that made me feel included when I went to these shows.
Absolutely. So what can you tell me about Call of the Haunt?
Actually, so that riff or that song, I think, represents where we are now the best. And that was really important for us to put that out as the single, I think, because it was sort of the best representation of what Psyclops is now. And it's one monster of a track, It's probably the longest song on the record, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure almost 8 minutes.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most difficult ones that we had to write as well.
Yeah, most complicated writing process.
Yeah, and we were just. I was extremely proud of it when we got it done, and just that
first time we played it all the way through together was we all looked at each other like, oh my gosh, we did it.
There it is. Yeah,
nice. Yep. So that one might have been the roughest track to create. Are we coming up on one of the easiest tracks, or did we already pass it?
Well, Icarus was. Yeah, we're.
Void will probably be the one that we.
Yeah, I was gonna say Void's
time on.
Void's definitely the easiest.
I can imagine that. Yeah, but let's go into Icarus Dies. What can you tell me about that, and then we'll get into Void.
I presented this one to the band. I was listening to some faster. I listen to a bunch of EDM sometimes, and I was listening to hardcore, and it's like 180 BPM or better. So I just like that kind of energy in music.
Right.
And I was thinking of some stuff, just driving along and hitting my steering wheel, and I thought of a similar cadence to this and brought it to the boys, and it evolved into what we have here for all the changes and everything. But
this one's personal to you too, right?
Yeah, it was a riff we were jamming around with for a while and kind of didn't know where to go with. And
it was floating.
Yeah, and then we had it, and we were trying to figure out this album and all the songs for it, and we're just like, well, what about Brandon's song? And we started jamming it, and it evolved into something pretty cool. Almost didn't make it at a certain point though, as well. So,
and Brandon, it really shows you off in the beginning of it, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a nice, it's like, yes, thank you, I needed that.
Right on.
It was another song where we kind of figured out that we can pull off dynamics. And
you're so right with regarding to dynamics, because Chris, your vocal is so different on this track.
That's Brandon's vocal. That's my vocal.
Oh, that's you?
It's not me.
Oh, well, there you go. Fuck me, running.
That's all right, the Brandon. One he's not singing in.
All right, Brandon. So tell me, are you going for like an ASMR kind of vocal there?
It's funny you say that, because we got the first. I wasn't thinking of something like that. I just want it haunted and wispy and airy and more like in your own head, but kind of off in the distance at the same time.
Right.
But we get the first take of it back, and we're hearing it, and Geared's like, he sends a group text. He's like, "Hey, you guys hear that Brandon ASMR? It's pretty great."
Oh shit!
It's
a little
raw
too
and not
sensitive
mixed, and it's
ASMR
like
though, man.
18 of me whispering the same thing.
Oh my god!
Oh, yeah, you should have heard it before it was mixed. It was very ASMR.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Well, hey man, YouTube. There's always a spot for that stuff.
Maybe.
Like I can't understand how that got so hot, but either way,
I don't get it either.
I don't know. So, the quickest track and instrumental, Void. What can you tell me?
Yeah, that one is another sort of like tongue-in-cheek thing. We all obviously, like Doom and stuff, and
Sure.
We like wanted to write, a Doom song, but we also didn't want to like
Write a whole
write
Doom
a
song.
Doom song,
Right. I hear you.
Take a while.
So yeah, that's like I wrote that riff just sort of like accidentally in 13/8, and 13 is a funny number, and
It's also the most metal.
yeah,
It is, yes.
yeah, we tempoed it to be like 66.6 seconds long. So it's like, it's definitely like a nod to Doom without really diving into it a lot.
It's basically like a 12th of a Doom song.
Right, yeah.
It's just one riff.
Yeah.
Just the one riff of a Doom song.
Well, we
It's
wanted
also the
to
most confusing thing to play live too, because we jump into it and you think you're about to get to where something's going to happen, and then we just stop playing, and everybody just kind of is unsure if it's clap time or if there's something coming after this.
Oh my
That's
god,
part about it.
that's like such a douchey moment. I love it. 'Cause it's like, did a string break? Did the snare pop? Like what happened? I don't. Oh,
I have-
Oh, they're
I
on a
don't
new
think
song
we've ever
now. I
talked
guess we
about
missed
it,
our clap.
But it's just bringing it up in that way, I think next time we play that song, we should give people enough time to clap and then cut them off.
I love it. I just love when people do that on stage. Like you just don't know where it's going, and it's just bravo. You got to as soon as you get back on stage. And finally, this last track, Hot Coals. What can you tell me about it?
That's one of the first ones I felt I was connected to in the band. There was one of them that they had before I came in. The bass line was already written, but I reworked it to make it feel like I was a part of it too, and I just felt it was really connecting because it was the first thing I was jamming on them with my own thoughts. So I personally love that one just because it signifies the start of me in this whole project with these guys.
Right.
Yeah, that's our first song.
Yeah.
In quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a while it really stood as our best kind of showcase of our musicianship. It sort of moves from that grooving rockin' to that sort of dialed back. You have that big moment with those hits and that powerful, vocal behind it. And it feels kind of like a sonic journey in a way before we wrote Call Off the Haunt and sort of stamped on it a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I remember from the original, I guess you call it EP or whatever.
Yeah.
You added a little bit to it, and I don't want to say what happens at the end, but I was kind of pleasantly surprised because I thought the track was over, and I got a little extra.
Yeah.
Well,
You'll have to check out Hot Coals to see what that's all about.
Yeah, I ain't saying anything. That's all on the person wanting to listen. Which, by the way, this is on Bandcamp. Don't waste your time. You got to pause this if you have to. Go over, pick it up, get the CD, get it digital, get something from these guys. They fucking deserve it here. Thank you very much for breaking that down. And I just got a few more questions for you, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so I already screwed this up again with a question. So Nick from the band Stonecutters and Warcloud had a question to ask the next band, and this is it. And then if you have another question to ask another band, I'd really appreciate it. So his question, where was the worst place to stay after a show?
Ooh.
I mean, I feel like the answer to that is always the van, but also, like we were talking about earlier, we got lucky with our van situation.
We got so lucky. Yeah. I mean, one of us slept in the van just to keep an eye on shit.
Yeah. You almost have to.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't have been able to sleep if someone didn't do that. Like, I think I speak for everybody. I was the most nervous one out of everybody on the whole trip. But, like, the van isn't my fucking name. But, like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the van treated us pretty good, man. And like, we got extremely lucky that we had a place to stay after every show. Yeah. But we've only been on one tour, so we could it could all go fucking sour.
Yeah, it was also one that like sort of booked with that intention. I was like, I have a lot of friends in Colorado that have couches and places to play. Let's go to Colorado for a weekend.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so basically, worst place, the van, but not so much that van. Maybe the
van if everyone's in it.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. There you go.
Well, I mean, shit. If you guys are going to Taco Bell every day, I could thoroughly understand.
Like, we know each other very well. Let's put it that way.
I imagine there's a lot going on. All right, so you're talking about. One person being in the van because of, you don't want anything stolen. You want it broken into, whatever. Does anybody want to talk about any of their gear and what they got or what they want to get?
My cymbals are always broken.
Oh, are they? Now, let's take that. Do you have them cut?
No, I play too hard.
You smash hard. Alex Smash.
Yeah.
Alex Smash. So, okay, so is there a different style, or are you just going to run through them? Is there like, can you more like jazzy style, like you just kind of back and forth? I don't know if you can see my hand.
This year, I'm trying to work on technique and just get a little bit better. But like, I've fallen in love with old vintage Zildjian cymbals. Like, part of what my favorite sound kind of came apart is when I got started using a ride as a crash and just beating the shit out of it. So that's been very familiar. I've heard that there was a band around here that said doing the same thing. What size are we talking here? 22. I like that as my crash. So
very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So it reminds me of Kias and or Caius, whatever the hell you want to call it. But
tomato. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, right. Like that fucking sound and like that. I just love that fucking cymbal sound.
It's just that big wash.
It just doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
It's
funny, and I think I mentioned this maybe a couple thousand times. Like when I first started hearing this music, I really didn't even have a name for it. And I was in Florida, so I used to just call it crash rock or ride rock because that's that was the big thing I heard. Whether it was like you say, like Fu Manchu or The Sword or ASG or somebody like that, and Caius and what have you. And I had no idea. I didn't know. Yeah. Now I do.
But I am definitely not a gearhead, so the rest of those guys, they'll be able to speak to that a little bit better.
All right, gents, what do you got?
I'm playing through a Orange Crush 120 into a Mesa 4x12. I think it's equipped with Celestian V30s. Pretty sure it is. And then my guitar, or my primary one, is a PRS S2 Mira. And then on my board, I've got a Bogner Ecstasy Red. I run all of my distortion through that. And that kind of contributed to the big guitar tones that we have on this record.
Right.
Was really dialing that in with our engineer and producer, Stephen Hawks. And then there's some supplementary stuff on there. Sort of the dreamy delay stuff comes from a pedal I'm borrowing actually from Chris, the TC Electronics Alter Ego. And it's kind of my sort of complete setup there.
Very nice. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have the just because it relates to geared. I have the combo version of his head, the Orange 120. And then I mostly use the onboard distortion because that thing is really fucking crunchy. And I'm using this like funky Parker P44 that I picked up at a used gear shop, and honestly, it's such a wild setup. Like, I've got this like Fishman piezo that I would like to use, but like the G string is broken. And the neck pickup is like really soft and buttery, but it has this like fat ass Duncan distortion in the bridge, which just like crushes. And then like every once in a while I'll throw on like a big muff, but I mostly just use the clean and onboard distortion.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Is that did I get everybody? Do I have one more?
Yeah, I got I'm running an Ampeg 450 watt head. It's SVT classic hybrid.
Right.
I had a Galleon Kruger bass cabinet 4x10, but I changed out all the cones to Eminence 80s, and it's got that Ampeg sound, the lower end Ampeg sound, but it's still Ampeg-y, which is nice.
Right.
So it's weird because it's like a Frankenstein body, but it works out.
Hey, it's what you like, man.
Right, exactly. I thought about putting like pencil holes through one of the cones to see how that sounds, just to get that extra little bit of distortion on top.
Wasn't that the story of Ray Davies from the Kinks? Like he just like stabbed it so he could get that like that really you really got me that distortion that he was getting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the original distortion.
Yep. I wanted to see what that sounded like before I swapped the cones out, but never ended up getting to it because the tin would have just sheared on the other cones, the Galleon Krugers.
Gotcha. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate that, man. Right. So I got a few other quick questions, and maybe we'll just call it a day here. Do you have a question by any chance for the next band I interview? By the way?
What's the best meal you've gotten from beer tickets?
Ooh.
I get the feeling a lot of that's going to be none, 0.
And here in Portland at Twilight Cafe and Bar, man, we go crazy for these
goddamn chicken strips.
What makes them so good?
They're just good.
Well, homeboy, or yours truly, is a gluten-free friend. So, namely, the batter they're using for them is friendly for my fragile body.
Yes.
But also, man, they're meaty and they hit the spot, especially when you're getting ready to go on stage and sweat a ton, you know?
Fucking no bullshit strips.
All right, so now is there a sauce toss with it, or is the sauce on the side?
You can't go wrong with ranch.
Yeah, you know.
Fair enough.
They got good ranch. They've got ketchup. They've got good barbecue.
I
might have one
basic. Just basic.
We're missing the big question here. The big question is the spice, my friend. Is there spice?
Nah, it's mild, man. I'd say in the pantheon of chicken strips, it's probably not the most groundbreaking, but it's certainly worth.
They're definitely
it's a situationally good chicken strip.
Yes,
for chicken strip, you're getting a dive bar that plays metal music. It's pretty fucking good chicken strips.
Yeah,
and you know what? to that, I totally agree. There's this bar I'm not going to mention in Phoenix, and it's one of the few places that you can actually still smoke in the venue.
Oh,
yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, and you know what? Like it's part like I sat down and it's cash kitchen only, and I'm sitting at the bar and I'm there like maybe 5-10 minutes, and there's a woman across from me taking her top off that really had no need to do that. And there's a guy next to me that's telling me a story that he just got out of prison because he can't stop stealing. Yeah, so you're getting the vibe here.
Yes.
You know, there's a woman on the top of the bar dancing, wearing compression hosiery. If you
okay.
Yeah.
You got to keep from clotting. You can't clot.
No, clotting's a big problem.
No.
But the fucking wings were on point. They were
all of it was worth it for the wings.
Yeah. It's all about the ambiance, you know. Like when we first had these chicken strips, there was this fucking guy, like the bartender working there, and this TV behind there. He had fucking kitten videos on because it was funny to see the metalheads get. It was great. And I'm sitting there eating these goddamn delicious chicken strips. Listen to fucking this badass 8-bit metal band called Dr. Zilog. Shout out Dr. Zilog, fucking awesome. But like, I mean, these chicken strips were perfect. Everything was perfect that night.
You know, I will say, just that story that you just told me, Chris, it really resonates with me because I was recently watching this this seminar at Berkeley from this dude who's like this world famous like writer. Like you wouldn't know his name, but he like wrote for like all of the biggest like pop stars of like the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
And he was talking about how there's a difference between writing a good song that people tell you it's good at your show and writing a good song that people will listen to on their own. And the difference is, ambiance. Like, if someone goes to your show and tells you that they liked your set, they didn't really like your set. They liked that they were there with the beer in their hand, watching you play. And if you can go to a place where there's saggy titties and a pickpocket next to you, order some chicken strips and really fucking enjoy those chicken strips, those are some good chicken strips.
Fuck yeah.
The rest is white noise.
It makes it all better.
It's all about the strips.
It's all about the strips. Now, what can you guys tell me about, and I know Brandon came in a little bit after, but what can you tell me about your first gig, or maybe your first gig with all of you together? What was it like?
Oh.
Well, our first show as Cyclops was Bossa Nova, right?
Yeah, the Bossa Nova Ballroom. Like,
With,
what a cool place to play, man. Like,
with actually some like
good sound and shit.
Some like tech death bands, really. Yeah. Like this Secessian Conscience, and who's now Bystander is their name. And Volition. Yeah. There was another band on that show.
It was a pretty sick.
There was like 6 fucking bands there.
Yeah, dude. they were all like heavy, like progressive, like gent kind of music,
Sure. 7-string guitars and all that.
Oh yeah,
it was cool, man. Because it's our first show, and we booked a real big venue, and we hustled our asses off for this gig. I think maybe more than we have for anyone. We had like a pretty impressive attendance just for us. It was like maybe like 80 patrons, 85 or something like that.
Right.
We had this whole bar stocked full of all of our friends and family that were just stoked we were playing music together, and that kind of has carried us through this past 5 years as a band,
Got a bunch of fucking like merch made like last minute, and like, and it was like, oh, this is actually like halfway legit. Fake it till you fucking make it,
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. There is something about that merch. Once you get it, you're like, fuck, man, I'm solid right here.
I got a fucking shirt, my fucking band name on it. Yeah,
I got a sticker. I'm ready to go.
Hell yeah.
If any of you could do a collaboration with somebody from another band, who would you choose?
Are we talking about like on a local level, or just like anybody?
Anyone.
I've been wanting to play some live bass for some drum and bass artists, because I think that'd be really fun just to groove out.
Okay.
It'd be fun.
I've always wanted to play in a funk band. I've been into this band called Vulpeck recently.
Oh yeah,
I'd love to play drums for Vulpeck. Vulfpeck. They're just like nerdy guys making funk, and I grew up listening to the funk music and shit. And this is so good. Joe Dart is amazing, absolutely amazing. So highly recommend checking it out. All Brandon, right. I sent you a link as well, dude. So,
oh yeah.
I'm a big fan of the band Elder. Nick DeSalvo is just an incredible inspiration to me. Yeah, I'm stoked for their new record this week. And I would kill to be able to play with those guys for hell an hour.
Right on. All right. Thank you for that. Yes?
I would probably pick Tom Monda from Thank You Scientist. He's a guitarist in like this prog jazz rock band, and has just like a really like dynamic feel, and be cool to explore stuff.
How do you spell it?
Thank You Scientist.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank
scientist.
You. I'm sorry. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm just writing these down because, hey, I'm always, like we said earlier, it ain't all about Doom. There's so much more, and what's wrong with going outside the genre, finding something, and then incorporating it back into your band. I don't see any crime in that.
No.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. I think that's what makes us special.
Yeah, that's influence in general.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, if each of you, anytime you enter a room, you have an entrance theme song, what would it be?
Oh shit.
Just to kind of call back to what Alex was saying, it would probably have to be Vulpeck's Christmas in July.
Or Christmas in LA, you mean?
Or Christmas in LA.
Christmas in LA.
Christmas in
Yeah.
LA,
Oh my
yeah.
God. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just because I've been jamming it lately, I really love 3 on E by Vulpeck, a new single that came out, and it's just got that groove, man. And it talks about getting you, having that secret sauce to get you off your feet, and that's been incredibly important to me lately. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Reach Out by Marc Rebillet.
Woohoo!
Okay. Go ahead. I'm listening.
It's a groove, man. Homeboy's just got a voice, and I don't know. I love the tempo, love the feel, and be a good one to come out to.
Right on. All right. Okay. Would you give any advice to a band that's just starting out?
Keep going. Always, forever, keep going.
Don't be so picky about the bands you play with. Play with anybody.
Okay. All right. This is for Chris or, well, Brandon. I mean, he's rocking the vocal too. What song could you rock at karaoke?
I like to go for Time from Pink Floyd.
Really?
Yeah, I think we've all done karaoke.
Yeah. We were all going to sing Afternoon Delight, but
Yeah, that was gonna be my go-to. I'd probably do Afternoon
I
Delight.
think we could actually legit pull that off.
I know we could.
Yes.
We could quartet that, no problem.
I think we could. Yeah.
Maybe wait till like July 4th, get a few Roman candles, skyrocket in flight.
It's all about the ambiance, like what Chris said earlier.
See what I'm saying?
Right?
It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
Okay, now this might be a little different because I don't think I've ever asked this. I'm not sure. If you could give a message to the world in 30 seconds, what would it be?
Stay home.
Okay.
Wash your
Wash your
hands.
Yeah.
Stay home and wash your fucking hands. I like that. That's a good hashtag, actually. And
Climate change is real.
there you go.
Yeah, that.
Well, guys, listen. I want to thank you so much for giving me the time. I know you know. I love that you reached out, and we have the time to do this during everything that we're going through, and it also means I can get it out a lot sooner, and that is pretty cool. So thank you so much, guys. Now, where can we reach you and contact you so we can say how much we love your music and so we can buy it?
At Cyclops PDX on Instagram, I think, is where we're most active. We also are on Facebook. I want to shout out on May 1st, and I'm sure a lot of bands will be talking about this too. Bandcamp will be waiving their fees on sales purchases on the site. So if there's ever a time to buy Amalgam, it will definitely be on May 1st. We can use all the support we
any
can
music
get.
that you've wanted to buy. It will
Yeah.
go
Totally.
straight
Use
to
the
us.
Support all the
Bandcamp
bands.
So-
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look at that because as you were talking, I was typing in that Vulpeck, and I'm going to check them out as soon as I hang up the phone.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Guys, thanks to all the guys for giving me their time. Really appreciate it. Different, unique Skype call. Had more than one person on the call. Didn't know I could do that, so I might be doing that with future interviews. We'll see how it goes. Let's hear a track off Amalgam. This is an arena. They have time for entertainment?
I am the comet! I burn the impure! Draw your blade, for the raven has come! From a realm past the reach of the sun, Red King and his elite have become what fire up an echo's tongue.
Over the past couple weeks, I've had a few new listeners and a few new bands that have contacted me, say, hey, I just heard about this podcast. So in case you're not sure, it's doomtombpodcast at gmail.com. That is how to reach us on social media. It's doomtombpodcast. I thank you all for listening. We got a lot more episodes coming up, so sit tight. We'll be with you in a bit. So enjoy yourselves. I don't know, drink a little, smoke a little, whatever you got. And don't forget to stay heavy. You're listening, and for some of these, hello everyone, and welcome to the Doom Tomb Podcast, the podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. Add a little psychedelic in there every once in a while. And we have got something that I have no idea how to explain yet, so I'm going to do this over. Right.